what I was planning on doing. Hey everybody, I'm just jumping on Stuart and I'm sorry, this is Fix and he has a real name. And
Yeah,
but what
the
I
real name's supposed to be secret.
Yes, but what I want to do is for those of you who are here, please let us know. Can you hear us? Can you see us? Because I am just waiting for YouTube to pick it up. I want to make sure that the mic is good because I don't want to be talking to nobody. It looks good to me.
I saw the notification on my end, and I'm just watching an ad
I'm
right
just
now.
watching an ad right now. I've got one, somebody sawing a chicken. What does yours look like?
I clicked the ad. You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. People in the chat, I haven't heard anybody say that they can hear us. So as soon as we have a confirmation that the sound is good, then we are a go. By the way, I am super excited to have a chat with you today. It says we've got all of 6 people on. Pete says it is all good. All right, let's check to the chat really quick to see who is here. I see Jay checking in. I see me, Renat and Ahmed and Pete and Mike. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for dropping in. I do not know how many people are going to jump on today, but I do see we have our first thumbs down. So whoever it was, if you were in the chat, thank you very much. I suppose all news is good news or all engagement is good engagement. At least you're doing something. Oh, there's Jesse. What's going on? I feel like it's the roll call, like here. All right. So the plan for today, I have some like basic questions for Stuart, and then I have a plan. I want to talk about like a hypothetical run through. It's not really a case study, but I think it will be fun. But really quick, before we go and jump into that, while people are jumping on, I wanted to ask if anybody else is seeing some major CPM for ads jumping or falling, because I've been seeing some like crazy spikes across some of my sites, and I'm wondering if anybody else is seeing anything like that. So if you are in the chat, Pete says, I'm buffering. Is anybody else buffering? Because it sounds like people can see and hear. So let me know if the stream is good.
Yeah, because I'm just watching it through the StreamYard, and I got the pop-out chat blocking me, so it feels more like it's me just talking to you.
Yeah, I have it running on my other computer over there, and so far it's not buffering for me. Jesse says it's good. Hey, Paul, how's it going? Call me XYZ. What's going on? Today, the main topic, we're going to talk about niche sites today. So sometimes I talk about podcasting, sometimes we talk about other things, but today we're basically talking about sites, and we're going to talk a little bit about Fix. We're also just going to talk about stuff in general. One of the questions I've gotten, I swear 5 times this week, and I'm just going to jump over to it really quick. Can you use AdSense or can you use Ezoic if you don't have an AdSense account? This comes up, I feel like, fairly regularly. And so I just want to blast this out because I went to Ezoic and I asked them because they say, oh, you need an AdSense account. But then people message me and they say, well, you don't need an AdSense account at all. And so here's specifically what they said, and I'm going to read it. It says, in short, you do not need an AdSense account to use Ezoic, but it is strongly recommended. If a publisher has ever applied to AdSense and been denied, has been banned from AdSense, or has an AdSense application pending, these things could result in not getting approved for Ezoic. So just keep that in mind. If you're thinking of Ezoic as an alternative to AdSense, but you have been banned or denied by AdSense, it's going to make it hard for you to be able to work with AdSense. But if you're in a place where you haven't been banned and you're otherwise compliant with the terms of service, it seems like, based upon the experience that I hear from folks in the chat who message me, and also from other folks who don't have an AdSense accounts who are using Ezoic, that it is possible. But again, if you're someone who's looking at it as an alternative for not being able to get an AdSense account or a denial, it's not going to be a good alternative for you. There we go. All right, just checking over there. Jaina is here. What's going on? Sushi is here. Paul is back. There's Adrian. What's up? Hasta Vista Boss. Hey, I got a great chance to talk with Adrian last week, and I cannot wait to publish that interview because it was really fun. So let's talk. For me, Google traffic for the last month, I don't want to cuss on this stream at all, but it's basically been all over the place. It's been very turbulent. For you, has that changed? Has that impacted you at all? And has it changed your strategy one bit?
This is me, right? Not
Yes,
chat.
you. Yeah, not talking to. I'm talking to you now.
No, honestly haven't seen much change. Things are relatively the same. I was just checking Zoic. I don't do enough with like the analytics in a Zoic, and it's climbing, but that's because I also just went on to their premium thing.
Mhm.
So it's climbing, and I haven't seen any big changes in traffic. Honestly, not that any of my sites get large amounts. They're kind of around 10,000.
But you have to be definitely aware of what's going. I mean, are you aware, or is it like I'm so focused on building and so focused on being in your sort of lane that stuff what's going on with Google? It's like, whatever.
So I have about 10 minutes exposure to, I guess, what was going on. I'm in a Discord group and they were posting stuff and I read comments. I don't follow news at all, like in real life either. I have more idea of what's going on in like a YouTube world than I would in the real world. There's pros and cons to that. It's just never become a habit. So I honestly, yeah, I don't know if something major happened. I heard people from the interview I watched of yours recently. It's like the joke was that like an intern accidentally pressed a button. So it sounds as though a bunch of stuff, like things went haywire. Um, yeah. So I guess I really don't know what's going on. Is there still a pandemic? I don't know.
I don't know. Hey, Steven, what's going on? Thanks for jumping in. You know, what's funny is I realized that I just made the assumption that everybody here would already know who you are. And I didn't even ask you to introduce yourself because literally I just see everybody in there in the chat that I know. So will you please just tell us who you are and what you are about? And then I'm going to skip past that. So like the 30-second elevator speech. I don't want to go 10 minutes down that road.
Okay, I'm Fix, also known as Stuart in real life. The reason I use Fix is that was a gaming tag, and I thought that would be funny to put on my YouTube channel, and I've never changed it. And I started a YouTube channel documenting me trying to build an online business. Niche sites are definitely an aspect of that and how I got started. And I sometimes share like the sites and my progress and basically what I'm learning along the way. And I also find that it has probably been one of the bigger reasons as to why I'm even still doing this, because I think most people would give up. If you're not making the idea that it would take, several years to start really making good money, turns people off pretty quickly. So I think that it's also kind of like a diary for me to stay on track.
I totally concur about YouTube, by the way. Just having it and then having this network is probably the reason. No, it is definitely the reason that I'm still here and still pushing as hard as I am.
And I actually remember how we first connected.
How's that? I don't remember anymore.
I have a weird photographic memory. It never served me in school, but for certain things. So it was over a year ago. I had only just posted a few videos of like I'm in Project 24 and I was posting my reviews about it because they released an affiliate program. I was listening to Doug Cunnington's podcast. He had John Dijkstra on Fat Stack Blogs. I typed him into YouTube, and because you had just done an interview with him, your video came up. I think I left a comment. You probably clicked and saw that I was actually a content creator, which is why the comment was positive. You'll never get negative comments from content creators. And then we were like commenting back and forth and connected.
That's awesome. Yeah, I feel like I saw your video over there on WP Eagle's channel, the interview over there. So I probably followed you back thinking that this would be a good person to connect with. I see that we have 22 people on the stream and only 11 thumbs up. So while you're here, this is a reminder, smash the like button. You too.
I just realized.
Also, I want to say hi to Steve Mack and Matt Jope. Hey, what's going on? Thank you for dropping on. So the next question I wanted to ask you is YouTube. So you're at 966 subs and you have 45,000 views. How is YouTube as far as that going? Are you focused on, I know you're doing mostly live streams now, but what's going on with YouTube and what are your plans in the future?
Yeah, I've actually even fallen off a bit from the live streams just because I had a baby just over a month ago. And she kind of dictates what time I have available. And so I might do it this week. But yeah, I was doing the live streams the most. And I think that really became regular during the quarantine. It was like a really great way for me to connect with the audience, but I think also just for the audience in general. And it's helped build up like my network. And I never really took it all that serious. The main reason I got into it, I can't remember if this channel, like Fix channel, was first, or I have a YouTube channel for one of my websites. And it's all like my very first videos, and they're really bad. And it's probably taken like up until this point until I'm actually like a little bit more proud of the videos I put out. But I guess the plan is, well, first of all, I think why it's taken even longer to build up, because I didn't take it as serious. So there was like the beginning, it was like one video a month, and I've never been great about a permanent schedule for upload schedule. But I think it's just to keep sharing sort of the tips I learn. And another like thing I'm trying to do more of is just have like more fun. Like you commented one time you laughed. So like my grade 1 report card, the comment from the teacher was I was always trying to make the kids laugh. So that's something I do enjoy doing. And I think sometimes the space can be a little bit too serious. The idea that we can make money doing what we're trying to do, when I think about it, really, it's kind of absurd. It's like, it's kind of like a new gold mine rush type of thing. And we're not curing cancer. We're just going in a ring with some AI algorithm, and some of us win. So I just try to have a bit more fun with it now.
Jay's got a question for you. He says, was that Fiverr video a big joke? Like you didn't know already? What's he talking about?
Oh, I just posted a video because I guess the thumbnail and title may have been a bit confusing. It was very rushed. I went on Fiverr and ordered a gig. There was this guy for $7 Canadian. He would review my channel. He said he had lots of experience. And so I just do a quick intro on that video. And then the rest of it is the video that Fiverr seller sent back of him reviewing my channel and basically giving like lots of tips. And I think they're very like basic fundamental tips. So I figured I'd share it because it is really good things. Like you've actually done quite a good job according to that video of like how you've set up your channel, like all that playlists and everything like that, really making it easy for people to navigate and stay on your channel.
Yes.
Yeah. So $7 Fiverr guy approves.
So one of the things that we talked about when we were sort of doing our prep coming on was that you had you were one of the few people who watched the interview that I posted this week with Justin Rule. He's a guy who's doing like local SEO. He's building websites for small business owners. You said he was the surfer guy. You watched that, not all of it, but most of it. And you said that it gave you some ideas. Talk about the inspiration that you got from that video.
Okay. So like in real life, I guess I should mention, so as I got into this online stuff, I mean, it's essentially entrepreneurship. It really inspired me to be more of an entrepreneur in real life. And I have transitioned into private practice. So actually just here, I recently moved. It's been a crazy year. So I moved, we bought our first house, had my first baby, and I am completely working for myself, and there's a pandemic, but I'm opening up my own therapy practice. And part of that, I mean, I guess so back to that interview, it inspired me because I like working with, I obviously like working with people. It's never been a dream of mine to have some sort of completely passive. I don't really believe in the whole I think something can be passive for like a month, but so can a real job. You take a month of vacation. So I still like that idea of always being like actively involved in something. And I often wondered, because when I talk to people about what I do with this stuff, like people my own age and even younger, like people have no idea. Like, and I think that can create some sort of like isolation feeling. But yeah, people really have no idea. And so watching that interview, I realized, and for a lot of people, not people in this space, but people who don't do anything online, I have a lot of like expert type of skills. And so I remember thinking like I think I would enjoy building websites or helping like coach people on how to do that sort of stuff, and like really educating them in the fundamentals, because I understand a lot of the beginner stuff. And so that inspired me I've reached out to someone who runs courses for therapists on how to build their online practice. And she's actually got quite a good online business set up. She, like 3 times a year, fills up this course, and people go through it and they learn about like all like how to reduce the mistakes you make and how to start up your own private practice for therapy in Canada. So I'm hoping she wants to collaborate with people who can help therapists trying to do that. And so I'm considering building some sort of course that she can promote to her students. People who have some sort of tech knowledge, they can go through that course and figure it out. Because when I was in that course, people in the live streams, like they didn't even understand how to like go to Fiverr and order a logo. They didn't understand like how to do YouTube and especially how to set up a website. And a lot of people get ripped off. Like they'll spend thousands of dollars. I've seen a few of these companies local companies that will offer to build a website, and it's like $200 to add a blog post type of thing because people don't know. So yeah, I'm thinking I might be able to niche down in that area and helping like therapists build their online presence and do digital marketing.
Well, the upside of that is that you are actually in that niche. It's not like you're coming in as a marketing agency who wants to target them. I mean, you are a therapist and you can speak like this works and this doesn't. And I mean, you can really speak to that potential audience. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And I think for anyone like watching in the future, like more than likely you're in some sort of niche for like a day job type of thing. And a lot of this stuff you can niche down in because make money online is pretty broad and there's a lot of big players there, but how do Canadian therapists make money online? There's not much competition there.
Hey, Josh, what is going on? I'm not sure what Pete is talking about. There's Adrian, who is still in the car. And Adrian, we know you are there. And we understand that you're not going to take your life in your hands to text with us, even though I keep seeing text popping in and I'm not sure how that's happening. So one of the things that I want to do today is something I haven't done before. And we talked about this briefly, but I want to pose a hypothetical and just for you and me to talk about, and also for the people who are in the chat. So let's just say right here, right now, that we were going to have maybe a contest, maybe not a contest, but we were going to run sort of a case study, like group, like let's all go do it together. We're going to start, well, maybe not even start from scratch. I'm going to give you $1,000. Let's say I could pretend let's give everybody a budget of $1,000, or everybody had a budget of $1,000, and you have 12 months to either maybe make the most money or get the most traffic. And it's basically unlimited for what you could do for that $1,000, except that I would say no paid traffic. So not paying for, just to send Google like really, really cheap, crappy traffic from third world countries. But you could potentially, use micro workers and, other things, just no paid traffic. But I'm going to give you, or all of us have a budget of $1,000. How would you get in 12 months to either the most traffic or the most earnings? Let's start with earnings. And I'm just throwing at you. So, folks who are in the chat, this is hitting you with it right now for the first time on the fly. What would you do in order to build a site in 12 months to earn the most? So you have to start a new hosting account. So you can't just throw your site onto your current hosting and not pay money.
Okay.
You're going to have to get your own domain. I'm not saying how necessarily you get that. It doesn't have to be a brand new domain, but that is part of the budget. And then everything else is in that $1,000 budget. You have 12 months. Ready? On the fly. You ready to talk? I just keep talking to give you a chance to think.
So I guess you're not secluded to a niche, or you don't have to stick to a particular niche.
Nope.
Oh man. See, okay. So let me answer that first. So talking with Josh, who's in the chat, Josh Coop, hello. He has a connection with an extremely cheap hosting. So that's almost like not even a cost domain. Do you want me to talk about what niche I would even go into?
That's part of it. Say, okay, that for folks who are going into this and looking at what I would do with my $1,000 budget, the niche, if your goal is to get the most money versus just the most traffic, right? Because there's lots of niches where you could get thousands and thousands and thousands of visits in a given month, but we wouldn't target it because there's no money in it. But if you were trying to win the prize for the most traffic, how would you get it there?
Yeah. Paul says info product and YouTube channel. Or am I allowed to do YouTube? I guess it's a website, right?
You have 12 months, so you have a website, but if you wanted to send traffic to your website from YouTube, because we're not talking about a global internet business, because I could start a YouTube channel and probably maybe destroy the income and getting views because of the way videos rank, but we're talking about websites.
Okay.
If you wanted to start a YouTube channel and invest your money or your time in creating YouTube videos to send it back to one page, that's maybe your strategy. But what you are doing with $1,000 to get the most money in 12 months.
Can I buy backlinks?
Yes.
Okay.
That's
So,
part of your investment. You got $1,000. If you want to spend
backlinks.
money on backlinks, that's on you.
Backlinks are very expensive. I'm not even sure if that'd be worth it. See, I want to say I would spend it on content, but that's not even that much money. $1,000. I'm typically paying $50 for like a basic 1,200 word post. So what's that? That's like 20 posts. So I guess I would want to be doing all of the ranking or all of the writing. I think I would go for some sort of micro niche. So when I was looking at websites on my last live stream, like I could have bought a website all about cheese graters. I wouldn't do cheese graters because they're not very expensive. But I think this is where someone like Chris, who does niche safari, there'd be a lot of pressure to find like the perfect niche.
Well, how about this? Let's iron it out. So we already talked about hosting because that's one of the expenses. So you already said that you would pick out hosting and you would reach out to Josh Coop to use his hosting services. So that takes care of that. Where would you get the domain?
Namecheap.
So you would start with a fresh domain, a brand new domain. I mean, it would be cheap. It would be, be a couple dollars for 12 months, but would it be the best use of your $1,000?
No, probably not. I mean, see, I don't have experience buying like an age domain. If I found like a niche and I found a particular age domain that fit that niche, perhaps I would do that.
Because you could see for the point of this contest, if your goal was just to get the most money or the most traffic, it's different than starting a business from scratch, saying, what would I like to do? Maybe you would go around the other way and go look at the domains and then say, okay, that looks like a good domain that already has A, B, C, and D. And maybe I would create my content and my niche around that investment if my goal was to get the most money or the most traffic in 12 months.
Yeah, because I guess there's like I said, I don't think it'd be worth paying for content. Maybe I don't even know if it would be. And I have that. And there's nothing else going on in my life during this time.
This is a hypothetical world, so all the rules are out the window. So this is for you, what you would do. And I guess that goes. You'd have to take into account your own life as part of it. So if I had no kids and I had no job, then I wouldn't bother paying for content because I could spend 12 hours a day just writing content. But for you personally, maybe that's not an option. Maybe that's not possible.
Yeah. So I think like Ahmed just posted a good domain plus hosting plus order 30 articles. For me, I'm trying to think of like what would these experts do. For me, what I would do is probably that domain plus hosting and doing my best to find a not so competitive niche and using something like like with the KGR method, essentially trying to find the lowest competition stuff because posts can rank pretty quickly if it's really low competition. I think I would probably lose this competition if I was in a competition.
All right. Well, so domain, we debated the benefits of a brand new domain versus buying. And I think we can all, because of the sandbox, we could all maybe agree that if you only had 12 months, that starting with a brand new domain might not be the best way to maximize what you could do in 12 months. Now, if you had like 3 years, then a fresh domain might be a better investment of your money because you have a lot of time. But in 12 months, you're going to spend 6 to 9 of those months in the sandbox. So, I mean, I would argue that trying to use some of that $1,000 to buy something that is out of the sandbox, if I only have 12 months to get either the most money or the most traffic, that would make sense. And maybe because this is only a contest for 12 months, I don't know that I would look for my favorite niche. I would just look for something that I could do something with in 12 months.
Yeah. See, I don't have any experience buying like a domain that's already been around because I've seen domains for like $50,000. Um, I guess yeah. Does that help with the sandbox to have a domain that doesn't like it's not a website, it's purely just a domain, it doesn't have any content associated with it?
I think that's the idea. I don't generally
Okay.
buy domains that don't already have websites on it, so or content on it. So folks who are in the chat who are like Richard Patey is a crazy domainer, right? Like that he just has a giant portfolio of domains and is treating them as assets. But for the folks who are in the chat, if you could throw in your 2 cents about how or the best way to buy an age domain, because for me, if I'm going to go out and invest money in a domain, usually I want there to be content on it.
Yeah.
And so and Adrian says you could be sneaky and get out of the sandbox faster. If you know how to do that, then like for Adrian, that would be part of his thing. He's like, I have this particular skill. And so then you would circle around and share it with everybody at the end of this 12 months. But so there's new domain versus an age domain versus an existing site. So how about that? Because in my
Yeah.
mind, I say, okay, if somebody gave this to me, what I would probably do instead of going to buy an age domain from FreshDrop or one of these domaining services is I might go on a hunt and hit up all of my contacts to look for somebody who's trying to unload a site that's 2 or 3 years old that already has content on it.
Yeah.
So, these like mom blogs, right? That people go out and start and they just sit on them. They started it. Maybe they made a lot of mistakes. Maybe they don't know what they're doing yet. And maybe they're ready to give up. And just the idea of maybe getting their initial investment back, for the domain in that 1 or 2 years of hosting, maybe if I could find something for $200 or $300, that maybe plus it already had content. So then I could hopefully, if it got any traffic whatsoever, I could start monetizing the traffic that already existed. Even if it's not high quality traffic, at least it would be something to get me going ahead forward.
Yeah. So I think that's where I would land because I recently had someone from Flippa reach out directly to me. They contacted me because they wanted me to put my website on their marketplace, and then I started looking around Flippa, and there are opportunities. You can get there's tons of websites. You have to do your due diligence, but some sort of marketplace. I think most of that money would go towards a site that's already been around, and then I would create some sort of info product around it. I think. So it would have to be like the perfect storm of a niche that I think would work and that I can make an info product for, and then getting that and making the info product as quick as I can, and then doing also like some sort of like digital PR of trying to get people to talk about this whole thing, so I can get like my own backlinks as well. Some way of driving it.
Just checking in the chat really quick. There is Tammy Asim. I hope you are with us already, Asim. This comment was several minutes ago, but we were talking about what we would do with $1,000 in 12 months. Ahmed talking about this. He says domain plus hosting plus 30 articles. Ahmed, why don't you talk more to us about what niche you would maybe aim at, and if you were aiming for the most money versus the most traffic. I mean, are there any more details that you could share? Adrian is talking about, let's see, Ahmed says choosing low competition or underserved topics. I think that's definitely a key to being able to get traffic if what you're doing is starting with a site. I'm not sure what Pete is talking about as far as eating lobster. Paul says don't bother with KGR. People definitely have different opinions about KGR, and that is just fine.
I mean, just the idea behind it.
Yep. David says he would start with a new domain, hosting 20 articles and with low competition topics. So in this case, David, would you be looking to win the part of the competition that goes with traffic or with monetization? And if we're talking about monetization, what strategy would you use? Would you be looking at ads? Would you be looking at affiliate? Would you be looking at info product? I would even argue that like coaching, for example, or personal services, I mean, that could potentially be part of it if we don't have rules on any of that stuff. Let's see. It's not that Renat says it's not the domain that puts you in the sandbox. It's the new site. So if you redirect an age site to a new domain, then you don't get the sandbox. So that could also potentially be a strategy, right? Is you start with a fresh domain that's like mybestdomain.com and then invest some of your $1,000 into an older age domain and to do a 301 redirect and then try to get the juice over there. I mean, some people say, oh, well, I don't want to do anything they say gray hat, black hat, or whatever, but for 12 months and you're just doing what you can do. And I don't think you say maybe this strategy won't always work and maybe Google won't be happy with you if for some reason that becomes a problem. But for 12 months, I mean, that could be a really good investment in your money if you wanted to either make the most of your money and the traffic. And then Adrian says he would buy an existing site with traffic. Adrian, where would you go to look for this site? Because Flippa is the place where a lot of people refer to, but I don't ever send people to Flippa because that place is a beep show. It is really hard over there to find something that is quality, that has unique content, that is actually a legit something to be excited about, in my opinion. Then Adrian says, if you want something cheaper, you could buy an expired domain, but make sure the pages are still indexed, amongst other things. So,
see, what I would imagine a contest like this would show is that this would turn into essentially something like a Mario Kart race where there's no. And what I mean is all this randomness. I think people they search for this like path or system or proven process, but the reality is, with entrepreneurship, and especially when that entrepreneurship is digital, you have no idea what's going to happen in that 12 months. And luck is not the biggest factor, but it is certainly a factor. I don't think people like to admit that.
Well, I think a competition or a contest like this would really emphasize is that there isn't just one way. Mm-hmm. So you could have people who say, this is the strategy, this is the thing. You say, well, this is what you would do. And then we would have lots of people having sort of different ideas about how to get there. And that's why I think this would be really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Is because you could see the different ways that people would get there and then realize that people get really stressed out in the beginning when they're first getting started. Like, should I buy this domain? Should I buy it from GoDaddy or Namecheap? Is this going to just, explode everything? And ultimately it doesn't really matter that much. You say, which hosting is the best hosting? I mean, hosting, when you're first getting started, the best hosting is the one that gets you started. And then, the best strategy to get you started is the one that starts you. And then you'll learn over time what works the best for you. But I just don't think that there is one way. And it's just so hard for me to see people out there who are really stressed out about these details that, like, we talked about hosting for like 0.5 seconds. Yeah. But that is a big question for people who are just getting started, like hosting, like, just find the best one. And, you said, like, I'm going to find the cheapest one and I'm going to get it directly from Josh and then move on. And let's talk about niches. And so let's talk about monetization then. So we say, we think that it would be better to not start with a fresh domain if we have 12 months. The best hosting that you can get for the cheapest price, because we want to not spend all of our money on hosting for 12 months. And then monetization. I don't think ads is the fastest way to get to the most money in 12 months. But if you had a site that you could really get traffic to, I mean, maybe you could. I mean, what would you do?
Yeah, I was just thinking if ads would be a good idea. I recently had what you talk about, this shiny object syndrome, because I came across somebody posted from the Zoic Facebook group. There was like a breakdown of the top 8 best niches for ads or categories. And I think it was something to do with like improving home energy use or something like that. And I went out and bought a domain for $10 with that. I'm never going to do that. I don't know why I did that. I'm not going to make that site anytime soon. But I could see that. I mean, that is, if I was going to do ads, there would have to be very particular research done on what is going to pay the most and if it's competitive. Because that could bring in, I think it was an extremely high EPMV. And I don't even know why I wouldn't do affiliate is because most of my experience is with Amazon, and I don't think you can do that much, unless you it just gets more and more competitive the more and more expensive these items cost. And who knows? Over that 12 months, Amazon, everything's 1%. I meant to make a video. Walmart just slashed all their Walmart's down to 1%.
I heard that.
Yeah, if Walmart's doing that. Although I've never seen a link to Walmart on a website. Maybe I'm just not browsing that content. But so I know in like the SaaS, like software as a service, and tech stuff, you can find some really big commission stuff. Mm-hmm. But again, I think there would be luck there if something brand new came out and the competition wasn't really big. So that's the only way I would really see the
But that would be part of your
affiliate.
strategy, right? Your strategy
Yeah,
would be, instead of looking at Amazon, you would look for SaaS products that are just getting ready to launch. So you might share in your content updates, this is where I hunt for uh, SaaS products that are getting ready to launch, and maybe participating in launches is part of it versus just
yeah,
going straight over to Amazon. I'm checking the comments really quick, and Steven left me a comment that didn't pop up over here on StreamYard. He says he would get a new site with hosting, coffee niche, then use the money to buy products for reviews, write 30 articles the first month, 15 per month thereafter, with 75% buyer intent, low competition, and 25% info. KW. David says that he kind of did that recently with his current site. He just hit 1 year, bought about 10 articles while writing the rest. New domain and hosting using Amazon affiliate and Zoic, now at 300 to 400 per month, 160 articles. So if you, David, though, if you only had 12 months and then that was it, if this were a competition, is there anything that you would do differently though with that? You say, okay, I was able to get it to $300-400 per month doing Amazon affiliate and a Zoic, but if all you wanted to do is just blow it out for 12 months, would you do anything different? I'm curious. Mike says, keep it simple. And I always agree with Mike when he says that, because I think that making it really complicated can make it a lot harder. So when we talk about all the various things, we're not talking about like doing, SaaS products and Amazon and Walmart and ads and info products, mostly for 12 months, because you only have so much time. You're gonna have to pick like one of those things to really go all in on. I don't know that you could do so much with, okay, I'm going to hammer it with ads and do thousands of articles to get ad revenue plus affiliate. If you only have 12 months, I think that you're going to have to pick one of those strategies. And if the info product is it, then that is it. I just don't think you can spread yourself out if you have only 12 months.
yeah. And so I think based on what I am most interested in and my personality, I would go after the info products plus some sort of coaching or like some sort of like one-on-one service. Like there's opportunity in that gaming site I have. There's opportunity if I like buckle down just on that, I could be a personal trainer for gamers. And there's opportunity if you could get it up. It's $100 a session for an hour, and then you could bring it up. You're seeing like 5 to 8 people a day. It's certainly not going to be passive, but it's I think there's potential to start earning money.
I wonder if that's something that for this contest, we would say, yes, services, like you providing services is something else that the website isn't doing. Is it something that needs to be passive-ish? So all of the earning needs to be through the website, and then you can't contribute your services as maybe the info product, because folks who, and maybe this is part of it, folks who say, oh, well, I can offer coaching at $750 an hour, that is unique to them. And somebody who's brand new, who is following behind them, they may not have that skill and ability to do that. I mean, that's why this is cool, right? You could see people, if they have a skill, what they would do to get there, but it wouldn't necessarily be repeatable for people who are going behind them. So maybe that we would have to figure out some sort of rule to say, okay, this must be repeatable by the average Jane or the average Joe. And maybe that would iron out the use of info products and your personal services. I still think info products are a really good way to monetize if what you want to do is make the most you can in 12 months. So,
yeah. And I would agree with you. That does make for a very unfair start because, people come from all different backgrounds. Like you would like potentially, you're open about like what your job was.
But yeah, I was a lawyer before.
Yeah. But you've still retained your soul. I see.
Well, because I've gotten out.
Yeah.
It was like going like.
Same similar thing for me.
Adrian says, hit the like button. That's a good reminder. Smash the like button. I'm going to work on my Graham Stuffin. That's a cheers to Graham Stuffin, smashing the like button with my iced coffee.
Yeah, so I think there'd be a very unequal. Yeah, if you could just do a service thing, it would be very unequal to start out with because people would have different sort of expertise and professions that they're coming from.
Let's see. Laura says, and I think this is a great comment people don't think of necessarily is you could try another language than English and making because in her she seems to think I mean, I don't know. Sandbox seems to be shorter for German and Dutch sites, for example. So again, that would be a strategy, is to aim at traffic that's maybe less competitive, because if people are all targeting English only traffic, then if you have the skill and ability, like you have the language, that would be an asset that you definitely bring to the table. Somebody else could use their $1,000 budget in order to work with somebody who could translate content potentially to other languages to try and target maybe lower competition, but still high value traffic. I don't know how to do necessarily that, where you build a website where you have the website show up in different languages when people drop in on it. And I feel like Richard Patey did a really decent interview recently with someone who targets primarily non-English speaking markets, and had a really good exit with a non-English speaking market. And I would have to delve deeper, way deeper into that to understand. Adrian says he asks friends if they have sites to sell, or check out HPD, which is Human Proof Designs, or Spencer Hawes's platform, which is Motion Invest. I think it'd be hard to find a website though under $1,000 on Motion Invest site. And the same thing with HPD. If our budget is only $1,000, then you might be tying up your entire $1,000 into that site. And of course, you have to pay for hosting, but then it doesn't leave you with any money to do anything else. And maybe that's fine. Maybe you just do everything yourself from there. You write all the content yourself. You do all of your outreach for links yourself. You just you say, I'll take on the burden of doing all the rest of that. But if you're someone who has a new baby like you do, or has another job, that's not necessarily going to be something everybody can do. Jay says he's from the Netherlands, and so is Laura. Let's see. Adrian recently bought an expired domain in Spanish, and I cannot wait for you to play with it too, so that we can find out more about what you do with it. Ahmed says you could choose a niche from the ones that Josh Coop analyzes on his website. That's also good advice. I'm still catching up. There's Chris. Chris, I hope you were still here. I hadn't had a chance to say hey and say hello. David says that he wouldn't change anything. So it's a tough grind, but I guess selling the site now would make for about $12,000 for year one. Not too bad. And I agree, not too bad at all. A question from Jay. He says, how's the Pinterest strategy going?
It's actually, I was just checking that. So I paid for Tailwind and hired a Pinterest VA. And so I do absolutely nothing. I don't even understand what I'm looking at when I go in there. And it keeps growing. And from what I understand, there's a temptation of like, oh, I'm going to hire a VA and I'm going to get like hundreds of thousands of traffic right away. It does seem to take some sort of time, and it is for pets, so there is some competition. But now it's already up to like the first month I was getting like 10 website clicks, and now it's like well over 100. And this site I've now like turned into like, I'm going to sell this site next year. I'm not very interested in it. And so the Pinterest is becoming a bit of an asset for it. So the reinvested earnings pay for the Pinterest VA. And when I sell this site, it's a unique thing to have. I'm hoping there's going to be like 100,000 impressions a month, and I don't know, 1,000 followers. And it's a great asset with a website. It like makes it easier to it makes it more attractive for someone to buy it, I think.
Asim let me know that I missed this comment, and I'm sorry, Asim. Thank you for pointing it out to me. He says, I'm no expert, but and if this isn't the comment, Asim, post it again and I will definitely cover it. He says he's no expert, but I realize now instead of building one domain, try 5. So invest 300 for one site and then spend all the money on content. First year is going to be slow. So I guess that's the strategy that I hadn't really considered, because we just made the assumption, right, that people would take their $1,000, invest it in one site, in one domain. But what if your strategy was to take that $1,000 and divvy it up so that you were going with multiple strategies and potentially a small portfolio strategy for 12 months versus just dumping it all into one site? So I think that would be cool if you could make it work. My concern though is if you could actually get enough time and attention if in such a short period to really develop them all. You'd have to really outsource the heck out of your content and a lot of the other tasks. And I wonder if that would eat up your budget, because you would also be spending money potentially to either acquire the existing sites. Sure, like let's say you could get 2 or 3 of them for a couple $100 each. then you're stuck with 3 or 4 sites in 12 months trying to create all the content yourself versus having some money left over for that. But I do think that is an interesting strategy. I see Brittany, that's Jazzy jumping on. Thanks for dropping in. So Brittany, what we're doing is we are doing sort of this like hypothetical. If you had $1,000 in 12 months, what would you do? What would you invest in? How would you spend the money to either get the most money or the most traffic in 12 months? So like January 1 to December 31. And how would you get there?
Is selling it part of that? Could you
Say that
sell
again?
it? Could you sell it on the last day and include that money?
I think that makes the assumption that is possible, right? That there is a
Okay.
seller lined up and ready to buy it on December 31.
Yeah.
I think that goes beyond this, but that is something to think about. So Asim says, my strategy would be to get all the content done in advance for all 5 sites and then schedule it. So I guess part of this sort of run up, you say, if we were going to start on January 1 and go for 12 months, would you have people like sort of prepping? Like people go on Iron Chef, right? And they make it seem like these guys just walk out of a hallway and then they just give them the ingredients and they go and make stuff up on the fly. But I'm pretty sure those guys do a bunch of prep in advance to say, okay, if they give us fish, here are the dishes we would make. And if we do this, then here's the things that we would make. So you say, we're going to start on January 1, then give people 2 or 3 months to get ready. I would use that time probably to go on my hunt for domain or for the existing website and to try to line up that purchase so that I could close on it basically the minute that I got my money, because we'd say the money gets deposited, in December, January 1st, so like 1201 on a, whatever time frame that everybody has 365 days from that time. But I would definitely use that time to get ready and probably line up that website. Is there anything that you would do in advance, knowing you had like 2 months to get ready to pull the trigger on January 1? What would you do?
Content. That'd all be like the only thing I would do.
Well, if you didn't have the money yet, though, so I guess you could write the content yourself. You knew that you were going to buy the specific domain and the specific niche. Then you would just create content for 2 or 3 months on your own before you had your money in your hands.
Well, probably what would happen is I'd procrastinate for a while. I got 2 months. Trying to find the perfect niche. I would get obsessed with that. And then hopefully I would find the perfect niche. I would start writing content and I would doubt myself for the next 12 months.
Brittany says she would dump that $1,000 into content. Well, what are you going to do? Where are you going to get a domain then, Brittany? You only have $1,000. So remember, you got to buy a domain and you got to get hosting. And then outsource some free content to my fiance. Hey, that is making the most of the resources and the assets that you have. Definitely. One of the things I kind of like the idea about this, though, having like a start date, is it prevents that ultimate forever procrastination. And then eventually you just have to start, right? Some of us, we think, oh, we're going to start a new site. And then we get stuck in the keyword research, like loop, the analysis paralysis. Like, I'm going to look for more keywords, or I'm going to look for the best thing, the right thing. But if you had to start on January 1, then you're going to have to jump on something, because otherwise everybody else is going to have all their stuff live and going. And you're still going to be like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I have no idea. Somebody tell me what to do.
I think also, like, I'm surprised Adrian didn't mention some sort of lead gen, because from what I understand, like, I remember also listening to like an Authority Hackers podcast, and they were trying to dispel this idea that more traffic equals more money. There's a way of thinking about it of how much money does each pay or user or page view equal. And so you could have, like, they built a site where each page view was $1. So 4,000 page views is $4,000. And I think it was more to do with like lead gen type stuff. The only thing is I wouldn't want there to be too much pressure to learn that. I haven't done that yet.
Well, I mean, if somebody had those skills, though, right, and you, were doing max bounty or CPA offers, and you were really focusing on using like the pop-ups and getting people, their email addresses, then you have to say, oh, well, is email marketing a thing? Will you allow the contestants to capture email addresses and then remarket to them? And is that part of it? And I guess I would say yes, because you would be using the email autoresponder services from, if you were going to use a paid one, from your budget, so long as it was part of your budget. and then remarketing to them, that seems like a legit use of your budget and a realistic sort of life skill. Like people with these passive income websites do remarket to their email list or to push notifications. So I would say that email autoresponders, all this stuff for info products or affiliate offers or whatever, I think that's a go. I think that is allowed. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. And so I forget who said it. Somebody mentioned, and this just crossed my mind. If I was going to do affiliate, it would be, sorry, I'm trying to look for it. Somebody mentioned ClickBank. And I think
Oh,
that
I missed that
probably,
one.
there are, like, if you could find an obscure niche or a less competitive niche, ClickBank, like when I check out some of that stuff, like some of the commissions are insane, and it would be low competition. So I guess, yeah, you would want to, it would be so much easier for me if all I focused on was one product. The entire thing was trying to sell this one ClickBank product. If it's low competition, I can write like 800,000 word articles, create some sort of email responder list. And then after domain, because I'm doing all the content, after domain and the other like logo, all those little costs, let's say all that's like $100. I think I might consider spending the rest, like 450 on guest post backlinks, completely white hat, and then $450 on what is it? The like forum type links, Web 2.0s. From what I've seen, people who have chatted to who have done that, it can quite literally like boom, now you're rank 1. Yeah, who knows what's going to happen? And because it's short term, that's good. Maybe you'll get to enjoy it before any sort of ban hammer comes down.
So Laura says that a potential strategy would be if you were to start on January 1, then you spend your whole year basically building up to cashing in on the Christmas like shopping rush for October, November, December. So really looking ahead and not necessarily worrying about monetization early, with the hope that you'll get in 9 months, new domain or age domain or whatever, that you'll get the rush in traffic and earnings around some sort of Christmas like gift themed. I mean, that could actually work really well. Maybe you make nothing all the way until November, especially now in the pandemic world where people have their incentives only to order from online. And maybe the Christmas rush starts early because people know they're not going to be able to go into the store anyway, and they're worried about the mail working and being able to actually get their stuff. So maybe the holiday shopping, if anybody has any money, by the way, we'll start in September, October, November, December versus just at the very end.
That's what I mean. It's a Mario Kart race. So the person who focused on Amazon only, or those last 2 months, it's like that last lap of the race.
Mm-hmm.
They had all the best items, and then like they focus on something super cheap, so they get like thousands of clicks a month over to Amazon, but everyone's buying all their Christmas shopping and they win.
Well, I do think that we should make the rule that there's no pooping bananas for anybody. Josh says he would write the content and pre-build, so he would get everything ready as possible. And I think that would be, I think, a key component of this. You give people a chance to get ready. I mean, if they know they're going to participate in it, they're going to do it anyway. At least I would. And if Stuart wants to sit on his butt and procrastinate, then that's on him.
I would have a lot of good intentions, though.
Pete and David are talking about his progress. And by the way, David, it's good to see you. I feel like we haven't caught up in a while. And so it's nice to see you and see that you are still pushing hard and still working. Jazzy said that she would do keyword research for 2 months. So just remove that analysis paralysis time. And January 1 is go time. Josh says he'd do his keywords 10x at a time and write. Chris said that he would write 100 articles as fast as possible and grow social accounts and run it for a year. That is a good point, though, as far as trying to launch on January 1, not just with your domain, but with all of the content. Like if you could have all of the content prepared and ready to launch on day 1, then you'll give it more time to rank and do the things to work for you. So if it's going to earn ad revenue or if it's going to earn affiliate stuff. So you could say, oh, well, we'll start on January 1 and then I'll start writing content on January 1. But if you're going to write 1,000 articles or 100 articles, I should say, and then, or you're going to outsource 100 articles, then that does that, that race, does that put you behind because that stuff isn't there and isn't working for you? Brittany says domains are only $8. And I say, I know, just make sure that is part of your budget. Asim says, yeah, spend at least 2 weeks on niche research. Your commissions and EP and V depend on it. And I agree. Yes. Back to Pinterest. Dante says, how did you find your Pinterest VA? Any issues with more than one person using the Pinterest account?
Oh no, because they would just use Tailwind. I can add an extra user, and so I think they do 20 pins a month, and they do all the Tailwind stuff. I have no interest in trying. It would have taken too long to try and figure that out, and it's nice that it's just on autopilot. And so I don't think they want to have any more people, but it was through someone that was who already had a Pinterest VA. So if you're on Facebook, I would try searching in Facebook groups, or yeah, I would try to find someone word of mouth. I wouldn't go like I wouldn't order through something like Fiverr unless they were like like the highest level seller with 5-star reviews.
Brittany says, this is a nice thought exercise. I'm enjoying it. So I think it's fun. Pete, and go ahead.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I was just thinking, if you'd done this contest, imagine you did this beginning of February 2019. Or no. Somewhere so that right at the end, the pandemic happened. Like some people you would have never expected. They're like, say they focus on ads, and their ads for whatever reason went really high, or more than likely went really down.
Well, that's just like, it's real life, right? Because like you said, so much of it depends on luck. And there's so much going on in the world that we just cannot control. I mean, who knew that bidets were going to just be trending and hot in Q1 and Q2 this year? I mean, if you happen to have a bidet affiliate site, you probably saw tons of traffic, but that would not be something I think that we could, use my crystal ball and look ahead and see.
Or you had like a Lysol drop shipping store.
If you just happen to be manufacturing the wipes, right?
Yeah.
Looking down, see, Brittany's taken off. I'm sure she's already gone. Thanks for dropping in, though. Adrian says, no one has mentioned marketing yet. So, Adrian, when we're talking about marketing, how do you mean? About getting people to the site? So you have the site, you have it up, and then other ways to drive traffic to it. I mean, that is something that should be part of the strategy. So not just backlinks, but there are other ways to get people to your site that could involve money, or maybe not. I mean, maybe like you said, we talked about in the beginning briefly about starting a YouTube channel and then creating videos around that particular topic, and then trying to draw traffic to it, organic traffic, people just following your links. You make a video about this bidet, and then, go check out my website. That would be a viable traffic getting strategy. Pinterest, we talked about. Other social accounts, people talked about Facebook. And if we're not allowing paid traffic, then things like Facebook ads, that might hamstring some of the folks that create the clickbaity, like really high quality clickbait headlines, and then run Facebook ads to them. So that is a strategy. Like Matt Sale, I think, does that, does fairly well. But maybe that wouldn't be a viable strategy for this. But I don't know. Maybe paid traffic is something that we would allow in it. I mean, it's part of your budget, right? It's just. Renat says, no offense, but a 12-month contest is not a good idea. We should focus on the long term, and the $1,000 is not the decider. Your working hours are. Well, you are right in that what we are, in general, working to do is to not create a flash in the pan. Like, we're all working to create assets that we can do something with long term. Maybe it's we sell it at the end of 12 months. So I totally agree with you there, but I'm going to disagree with you as far as a contest, or the idea of doing a thought exercise of what we would do if we only had 12 months. Because a lot of times I think that for people who are just jumping all in, sometimes 12 months is the time frame that they give themselves to be successful under whatever definition that they have. And maybe they don't have the ability to just suffer in failure, whatever that is. If you could be growing something that isn't earning something, yes, that is valuable. Maybe it'd be valuable at year 2, but not everybody is that tough to go 24 months without a single win, a single dollar. And I think it's pretty realistic to have people say, okay, I'll get in it for 12 months and see what I can do, see what I can make of it. And of course, we hope at the end of 12 months that they have something that is a valuable asset and they will keep going or they will sell it. But I'm going to argue with you and say that I think this is still a valuable exercise. What do you think, Stuart? That was my.
Well, first of all, I'm very offended. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Renat. And what I was actually just thinking about is from the comment before that, I would imagine people who have a lot of experience with something like Pinterest, I think we've been talking about I've been talking about Google the whole time. If it's a 12-month deadline, I think the goal should don't even consider Google. There's no point. Half your time is wasted anyways. So people who are experts in Pinterest would probably have a huge advantage. So I think that would be an option. People could literally just dump all their money into Pinterest, and if things work out, you could do way better than you could on Google in that 12 months.
So when you talk about dumping your money, you're not talking about running Pinterest ads. You're talking about maybe dumping it into pins and dumping it into a Pinterest VA, perhaps?
Yeah. Just all that. I would have to do VA, but people who know what they're doing on Pinterest could, somehow, just build up the absolute best Pinterest machine and get tons of traffic.
So I definitely think that if it was Pinterest, that people would have to start with a new Pinterest account, because if you're using your own account, I think that would give you an unfair advantage. But if you started with a clean, brand new Pinterest account to go with the website, I actually totally agree with you. And I think that's why it is that I don't think of Pinterest initially, because that's not a big part of my strategy. But if you were trying to get as far as you could in 12 months, that Pinterest, especially if you picked a niche that would be Pinterest friendly, that would do well, you could absolutely destroy everybody.
Yeah. If you really know what you're doing.
Let's see. I see Jana says she gets a third of her traffic from Facebook groups and Pinterest. And so if you're going to grow a Facebook group organically in 12 months, you could potentially do it. If you knew what you were doing and the niche was right. It could be a lot of work though, because Facebook is so time intensive to grow a Facebook group. You really have to get in there. That is not something that I could do sort of just I'll spend an hour here once a week. Facebook groups are a lot. They are a lot. Denise says, hey. I say, hey, Denise, thanks for dropping in. Thanks for checking in. Adrian talks about the social fortress. So he's talking about building a brand, build a culture around it. Ultimately, that's the best place for us to go. And David says Pinterest is very time consuming, but worth it depending upon the niche. Mm-hmm. Well, folks, we have been here for an hour and it has been a lot of fun. I do want to work towards wrapping this up. So if people have additional comments or questions, throw them in there. Fix is a captive audience for at least another few minutes. So if you've got them, let us know what you got. Otherwise, I want to thank you for just a really fun, enjoyable conversation today. I feel like this is one of the better live streams that we have done in a while. And I hope to start bringing more people back to do live streams to talk about stuff like this.
I think that's really fun. I would love to see that actually happen, and also other competition ideas. So I also think it'd be really fun to get a group of people, everyone's on their own. There'd be all sorts of rules, but the content, I don't want to go into that. The contest would be everyone's in the exact same niche. And there's some sort of vetting process to make sure that nobody has any idea what the heck this niche is even about. Because you don't want someone to be like, oh yeah, that's my hobby. I spend 10 hours a week doing that. You it's something completely random. And just to see how that would play out. Yeah.
So people couldn't do advanced research then. They would have to start. So on January 1, they would not only get their access to the money, but then they would also get their niche. That would be hilarious.
And they only have a few months, and then they can't do any more work on it.
So they have 3 months. So you have 90 days to.
90 days. Everyone loves the 90-day challenge.
90 days, and then you wait. And when do you assess how people did?
Yeah, I guess it would have to be probably you would want. I mean, that's the thing. You come watch this 2-year-long contest. it would take a while, but it would be like you like build everything up. It's kind of like robot fighting because now you're just watching this stuff play out.
Well, what you could do is if you wanted to make a business out of this is you run 90-day competitions and then finish that one and then check in with them in 9 more months and then just start the next one. So
Yeah.
you have constantly like Q1 cycle, Q2 cycle, Q3, and then continually
Oh yeah.
let's check in with 2020 Q1 and see how they're doing in 2022. And
Yeah.
that, I mean, I could find a way. If I could find a way to make money doing that, I think that would be really fun.
Yeah.
Oh, last question. Let's see. Thanks, Matt, for jumping in. Jay wants to know when you will interview me, and that'll be up to fix. And then last question is from Renat. It says, I know you because of your income school review. How do you feel about income school lately?
Oh yeah, because that would have been the first video I do. I did. It's hard to say because I'm like very not engaged in income school. I don't use their courses anymore. But I think I feel like I'd be less likely to recommend it. But the issue is like when I bought it, I was an absolute beginner. I had some tech knowledge, but I had no idea about any of this blogging world or anything like that. So I think from that sort of perspective, it's an excellent thing for somebody to get if it's like, oh, do I get a brand new bike or do I buy this course that could help me make money online? Not, I'm gonna have to not be able to eat food for a few weeks. I'll have to go to food. Like, don't make any sort of major sacrifices. In terms of helping someone, a complete beginner, I think that's absolutely excellent. I'm not like if someone already has experience, I'm not sure how much more it could help, but I do think like they do a really good job. Like because of them, like I have like these assets now.
Awesome. Well, Fix, Stuart, thank you so very much for being here. And it would be wonderful, amazing, awesome to have you back here in the near future and what other shenanigans we can come up with.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
Thank you for watching, everyone. And we'll see you next week on Wednesday.